You know exactly what to do. You know exactly, maybe even how to do it. You know exactly what it is you want to do. And you're not doing it. What is going on here? Hi, I'm Miriam and I teach emotional intelligence skills. Welcome to EI for Life. I think we've all been in this situation before. There's an action we're supposed to take or an action we want to take and we're just not doing it. So what's happening here? So in an ideal body that's still on its factory setting, here's how life works. This is what our bodies are made for. Something happens, there's an event, and we have a thought about it, or the thought itself is the event. So maybe you have an idea of what to do next. Maybe you have an idea for a book. Maybe you have an idea for what you want to do next, like an activity, bungee jumping, or whatever the current latest trend is. So there you are with your idea. Maybe you are in a situation where you feel not great, somebody crossed your boundary. Maybe you are in a situation where you know exactly the next right step and you feel excited because this is the next step. Whatever thought you have about the situation is step one. Step two is this thought triggers an emotion. The idea triggers an emotion, whether it's an abstract idea or an idea for your next right step. Doesn't matter, it always triggers an emotion. This emotion then moves through the fascia, so connective tissue in your body. And if everything is free and unblocked and you're healthy and happy and move around a lot, your fascia is free, the emotion just moves through, you experience it. Even if you are in a situation that's scary, you experience the fear maybe for 2 minutes and then you can act on it because your fear, that's what the emotion is for, primes you for action. Curiosity primes you for action, to actually motivates you to take the next step, to look into what it is you want to learn. Excitement gets you really fired up for the bungee jumping. So the emotion prepares you to take that action. And then you take the action. This is it. That's how it's supposed to work. You have a thought, you have an emotion about it, the emotion preps you for the action you want to take, and then you take the action. That's the system. So I said a body that is still in its factory setting. Because what really happens in our lives, we feel emotions and then we are taught not to act on them. Some of us are even taught that the emotion itself is wrong. So we stop it in the middle. We don't let it move freely through our body. We tense up, we stop it. Maybe you were taught that when you are angry, you are not allowed to express your anger in any form. You're not even allowed to leave the room when you're angry, which is really bad. Instead, you're supposed to bottle the anger up. What that means is the anger gets stuck in your fascia. Literally, physically stuck in your fascia. This stuckness, this block, triggers new thoughts. Because the way we are taught to behave is through stories. So you will be told a story like anger is bad for you. What you learn is I'm not allowed to show it. Instead of maybe I should go, create a life I actually enjoy. But no, the story you are told, anger is bad for you. So you learn to suppress it and not show it. Maybe you are told that good girls are always friendly, always happy. Great one, eh? So whatever it is, you learn these stories, and these stories make you suppress your emotion, make you keep it stuck. The more often we have the emotion, the more it accumulates in our bodies. Maybe you are taught that curiosity is wrong. Maybe you ask a lot of questions as a child. Why is the sky blue? Why is this plant green? What's happening there when the sun goes up? Etc., etc. And your parents don't want to deal with it. Maybe your teachers don't want to deal with it. So they punish you for being curious. Curiosity gets stuck in your body. When you feel the urge to ask questions, you suddenly tell stories. if you've ever been in a meeting at work or at school, if you remember, at school or at university, and you had a question, but you wouldn't allow yourself to ask it. Why? Because you had this story. Maybe it's a story of self-doubt. Maybe it's a story about worrying, how they will perceive you, what they will think, etc., etc. It does not really matter what the story exactly is. The point is, you have the thought, you have the question, curiosity tries to move through your body, gets blocked, and this block then triggers the story. And this story keeps you in the loop. It triggers other emotions because you learn to feel afraid when the story runs and so on, which means more blocked emotions, more stuck points in your fascia. Now, what this means is that if you only work on your mindset, if you only work on any techniques that change the way you think, what you are working with is the stories. That's what you're working with. The stories you learned from other people. And this is a great thing to do because you need to understand that these are not your stories. Figuring out where they come from, who you learned them from, is fantastic because then you can distance yourself from them and you can understand, okay, this was them. This is their way of looking at the world. Maybe people taught you a lack mindset, that there's not enough money, there's not enough food, there's not enough jobs, there's not enough, just not enough. And you grow up thinking, ooh, there's not enough. So this is a story. And once you realize this isn't your story, this is something somebody else told you. And there are people who grew up with very different stories. And if you can, learn their stories, maybe you can become free too. So you try to change the story, you work on your mindset, and that is fantastic. However, if you have blocks in your fascia, your emotions will not actually allow you to act on your new mindset. That's the difference. Because you need to be free to actually take action. Let's say you have a new story. You now have an abundance mindset. And you think, whoa, awesome. I'm telling myself the world is abundant. Abundance is my birthright. There's money for everybody and also for me. And you repeat the story over and over again. That's you working with a story. You're learning a new one. Fantastic. And then you try to take action on it. But every time you do try to take action, what happens is you trigger the same kinds of emotions. And these emotions get stuck in your body. Maybe you will notice because the old stories come up again. That's why. Because your emotions hit the same old block. But what's really important is that if you try to take new action, this emotional block will stop you. You just can't. You can't take the new action if you still have emotions stuck in your body. So now you may be thinking, well, excuse me, my teacher, who is a mindset teacher, has done it. How does that happen? So obviously there's something wrong with you. Now here's the thing about that. There are blocks in our fascia, which are actual blocks, which you need to work on and release physically. So you need to work with the body. And then there are, let's say, sort of tightened pathways. So there might be a slight, not exactly a block, but the emotion doesn't run freely about a certain subject or a certain topic. For people who have these, not blocks, who just have these sort of slight problems, issues with a topic, changing the story can help because they still get the emotion through. They just need to focus on it. So it's actually easy for them. They just need to change the story. They focus on the new way and then their body unblocks it a little bit. Think of a pipe. If you have a pipe that just has a little bit of dirt in it, you can clean it easily by just pushing clean water through. But when you have a block, you can't push clean water through. It just won't go through. You have to remove the block first. Otherwise you risk destroying the pipe. So there are people who have, these mild little bit of accumulations that they can absolutely work with. And often these are people who teach mindset is the only thing that matters, because to them that's true. That's their truth. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with this. It's fantastic. Keep learning from them. Absolutely. Because their mindsets will work for you once you've removed the blocks. Because if you are like me and you have tried mindset for years and you still cannot take the actions you actually want to take, even though you have the new stories, this is the final piece you've been looking for. This is the why. You have blocks in your body, in your fascia. If you want to learn more about it and how I work with it, I have videos on that too. They will appear on the screen at the end of this video. If you have any questions, please ask. All right. And if you've ever wondered why you can't take the actions you know you want to do, you want to take, this is why. Thank you for watching this video, and thank you for being you.